Let's talk about the Invader banner and the two problems that I mostly have with it. This is actually an extension of various other problems that we've had before, primarily the replicant nerfs. Although the replicant nerfs, in my opinion, were more reasonable. As you guys know, this banner was clearly, as you can see here, it is a 3-step banner in JP, and the total cost is 600. On the Twitter of SINOAlice Global, they have recently released saying that they will make this banner 5 steps, which is a total cost of 1200, and there will be a guaranteed featured weapon, which means that you'll get one of these 3 weapons on the final pull of the 5th step. So let's actually get something out of the way first. I have seen a lot of misinformation. I want to be very clear here. JP did in fact have guaranteed featured SR. It was not just a guaranteed SR, it was a guaranteed featured SR. If you guys take a look at this sentence right here, that is exactly what it says. And I will translate it for you guys here, just so you guys can see it. It's not just an SR, it is a featured SR. If you see here, it says one of the collaboration SS weapons will appear in step 3. This is the final step. So stop. Everyone who says I asked JP players and they said it wasn't, just stop. You're just wrong. They might not remember. This was 2 years ago. That's fine. It's okay, guys. But you're just wrong. You're factually wrong. There's one main issue. And this, honestly, I care about this one a little bit more than the increased crystal cost. And I talked about it before, kind of hinted about it here and there. I don't like lack of communication from developers. For example, if they had released a week ago saying, by the way, we'll be changing the Invader banner to 5-step because insert probably, I think one of the main reasons could be that these weapons clearly a year later, this was about a year and 3 months or so after JP release. These weapons are like guaranteed trash in JP servers. So I can understand. Someone did comment that does make sense. Don't get me wrong, you're right. These weapons were trash in JP on release, so they had to reduce the cost to make them like worth pulling, so to speak. And even then they weren't really worth pulling because no one would use them. But let's be clear here. The problem is that they didn't communicate it. They just said like, hey, in 3 days we're gonna have a 5-step banner, and they just released it as if like, oh, not necessarily to hide it, but like almost as if they thought we wouldn't notice. I've seen this in a lot of games where developers like think that we won't notice changes like this. I've seen this in various games. I think Overhit and one of those other games from around back when Overhit was like super popular for some reason. Like they changed things, they changed rates, they changed prices, they change banners, they change a lot of things. And yes, some people will say like, oh, but why do you expect them to have the exact same thing as other servers? And it's like, look guys, you don't get it. It's not about just getting the same thing. It's about not wanting to have a worse product. Do you guys not understand that? Like, think about this with your common sense. Why would I advocate to have a worse product? I want to have a better product. I'm not an idiot. What the fuck? Why would I want a worse product? Why would I be okay with them making something worse? I would want them to make something better. That just makes sense. Like, do you guys not get that? It doesn't make any sense for you to advocate paying more for a product. That doesn't make any sense. Unless you work for the company. The only difference is the situation. Obviously, this is more early game, so these weapons are technically viable to some extent. None of the weapons here are good. They're mediocre. But because we don't have 20 L weapons, most of us, because we don't have 20 L weapons, these weapons do have a place in our slots, but that is limited in and of itself. It really is. It's very limited. And it being a 5-step directly makes this banner, in my personal opinion, no longer worth pulling on. I'm not going to be pulling on this banner. I actually really wanted to pull on this banner to get the spear job for 3 little pigs for the magic. It's 700 magic stat. It's quite a lot. And because it's a collab, I want the collab characters, but I'm not going to waste 1200 crystals. That's too much. The other problem I have with this, and obviously I feel less of the effect because you guys know I do spend here and there. But the other problem I have with this is that if you happen to be a low spender or a pure free to play, the rate at which these banners are releasing and the fact that they are changing things like this, making this worse, the people who are affected by this the most are free to play players. Because before, free to play players, these weapons would actually probably be pretty good for free to plays. So while I, as someone who pays, might not feel much of the effect, something like this, a change like this on a free to play player is actually a really big difference, guys. Most free to play players, even DPS ones, what do they have? Let's be real. Salad, at most, they'll probably have maybe 10 weapons, maybe 12. And if you mean specialized, a free to play half nightmare, I wouldn't be surprised if they had less than 6 L spears. Maybe a little bit more now because of the last banner having 2. As a free to play player, spending 1200 on a weapon, I mean, yeah, it's guaranteed, right? You're right. I mean, it is better than a normal banner, right? It's better than a normal banner. It's 1200 and you're guaranteed to get one of these. But what if they don't get the fucking weapon they want? Then they're fucked. Unlike people who can pay, they're not gonna get shit. They're not gonna get anything. They're just gonna get a fucking staff that's useless for them as a DPS main, and they're fucked because there's no way they're gonna get another 1200 crystals by the time this banner comes up. As opposed to if this was 600, I don't know if you guys noticed, 600 is pretty fucking cheap. For people who haven't farmed out all of story, you could probably farm out the rest of story and get another 600. But you're not gonna get 1200. Also, 1200 is like, what is that? That's half of what I'll get if I'm in the top 100 of tier 1 Grand Colo, right? So I can do this step twice. I can do 10 full steps and I'll get 2 weapons. Probably if you are new and your guild is in, I think they're called leagues, actually, not tiers. If you're in League 3, which is the lowest tier, even if you got first place, I don't think you can even finish a step. Like a full step process, whatever you want to call it. The full 5 steps, a lap, whatever. You can't even do one. I think the reward is like less than 500 crystals, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check later, but don't quote me on that. Let's just say it's not that high. As opposed to, I see now that they increased the rewards. League 1 has a max reward of like 4K, which, by the way, thanks guys. I do appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. There are some things that I can complain about. There's some things I can appreciate. I do appreciate the increase in the Grand Colos. That's fantastic. Obviously JP had that. I'm glad we're gonna get that early, or we did get that early. That's good. Actually, even Grand Colo itself, I think we might have gotten early. So overall, I'm glad about the good things in the game. But there are certainly some things that are bad. And in the same way that I don't think someone that just hates the game should just continually shit talk the game, I don't think people who like the game should just only defend the game. There are flaws in this game, guys. They're flaws. And you can call them out. You don't have to sit here and pretend that this game is perfect and flawless. It's not. There are flaws in this game, and there will be flaws in this game forever until it shuts down in 5 years in JP or whatever the fuck. And you should be comfortable with calling them out. And if you're not, that's not the problem of the one calling them out. That's a problem with you. If you think that there's a problem with calling out massive changes like this with no communication, that's because you're okay with getting fucked over. Because that is exactly what this is. You are getting fucked over. And I don't mean that in the sense that there's no reason for the change to have been made. I mean that in the sense that if they didn't change it, you would have had a better deal. And if you don't get a better deal and you get a worse deal, that's called getting fucked. And you should be allowed to be upset about that. Now, had they released the reason, that would have been fine. And this is not the first time. If I'm not mistaken, they didn't even release a reason as to why they nerfed the replicant weapons until after we complained. We had to complain for them to tell us that they nerfed it because they were too OP, which was obvious. But they should have just fucking said that from the get-go. But anyhow, sorry for cursing. You guys know I'm very expressive with curse words. Normally, I'm pretty monotone, as you guys can tell. So the way I pretty much just express myself in terms of emotion is through cursing. I think it personally is fine. Sometimes I go a little too far, sometimes I don't. But it's just how I speak. Hopefully you guys don't care about that. But that's just my personal take on this certain topic. For now though, I guess we'll wait and see what they respond with. But yeah, I just wanted to clear up some misunderstandings, some misinformation. People who think that it was not a guaranteed SS that was featured. It definitely was, guys. Obviously, personally, I think that they shouldn't make this change. I think it should be a 3-step. I do understand potential reasons why it is a 5-step now, but I would appreciate if in the future they would communicate these changes ahead of time and tell us why they do this, because we will notice it. I think that they should communicate with us if they will nerf things, and they should tell us why they're going to do it, as opposed to just throwing it down, because I will notice it. Just like how I noticed that they changed the weapons in the special banner, which, I mean, some of them obviously were for the better. At least that is what the supports say, which, you know, you're perfectly within your reason to say that. I think that's reasonable. DPS wise, I think the DPS weapons were fucked, but I mean, we did get a bunch of great DPS banners back to back, so I can understand why that could be an issue balancing wise. Anyhow, I am done with this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hit the like button if you liked it. Comment down below your thoughts on this specific issue. Obviously you guys can check on their Twitter if you guys want to tweet out whatever your opinions are. I doubt they check this YouTube channel, probably. I am out. Have a nice day.